Hi, Tamal. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ishan.
Now, you have discussed the Chanda Kochhar case in your column this week, laying a clear timeline of the events. One, we would like you to lay down that timeline for our viewers in a concise manner. But the part that I found interesting was the fact that investigating agencies have failed time and again to bring these cases to conclusion. What, according to you, is the reason for this failure?
There is only one reason. Our investigative agencies are not exactly well equipped to handle such cases in the financial sector. If you look at the cases in the banking sector, irrespective of the nature of the case, uh, whether it's in the public sector banks or private banks, whether the fraudsters have left the country, living somewhere else, or within India, uh, the record says that our investigative agencies have not been able to establish the culpability. I can think of Gopalakrishnan in the 90s, who was involved in some scam in Indian Bank. In the recent past, there have been many cases where particularly public sector bankers, senior public sector bankers, with a lot of drama, they faced CBI with that quintessential quote, "You are under arrest," and thrown into jail. And they had to spend a fortnight or more in jails. But what happened? Have the cases gone anywhere? No, because it's very difficult also in banking. It's a commercial decision. I mean, unless you really have that kind of expertise, which our investigative agencies don't have. So that's the main reason. Other factor, of course, probably, it's a kind of adventurism, how do I call, to scare them, to create a fair psychosis that the bankers would behave well. Probably that's how the trend started.
You say that there was quid pro quo in one instance, so there would have been in others as well. But this is the one that's been proved. So isn't that the case for culpability?
Has it been proved? Who says that it has been proved? It's the allegation at this point of time. No? It's an allegation. If it had been proved, then they would be sent to jail. I mean, they will be sentenced. So there's nothing. They have not been convicted. It's not been proved. What I essentially said is this: the entire Indian banking industry has lent to Videocon. ICICI Bank's exposure to Videocon is less than 10% of the industry. So if there had been a quid pro quo in this case, which has been alleged, then how would the other banks given money to Videocon? Now, if Videocon could get money from other banks without any kind of under the table arrangement, why would they have gone for quid pro quo in this case? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Miss Kochhar is absolutely innocent.
I would like to take you to another aspect of this. Has there been any learnings from this episode as far as corporate governance is concerned?
There was a fear psychosis among the banks, and the government went out of its way to actually put them in ease. You remember there were at least one meeting where finance minister called CBI chief also, and jointly they addressed the bankers. So there was a fear psychosis, but now slowly it's been receding, and the credit of take in the current year shows that. So what happened is, yes, banks, risk management, banks, underwriting capabilities, etc., have definitely gone up. And I would like to believe the boards are also much more vigilant than what they were, particularly in this case. And you have raised a very, very valid point that the role of the boards is very critical. I mean, how could, in this case, the board went out of its way to defend Chanda Kochhar? Even a former chairman of ICICI Bank came on television channels in her defense. So, I mean, how do you defend? How do you explain that? The role of the board is very, very critical. But under the Banking Regulation Act, ultimately in the private sector banks, the buck stops at the MD and CEO. Having said that, RBI needs to be more vigilant about the selection of directors on the board. I mean, it can't be just tick mark. And probably also we need to look at this. I don't know whether the Companies Act needs to be fine-tuned or whatever. The fixing the responsibility of the boards also. The Companies Act 2013 have done that, but I think we need to do more in the cases in banking where you find that board keeps its eyes closed. And that's not only the case in ICICI Bank. There have been a few other cases as well where you found that board is not exactly as vigilant as they should be. And what Reserve Bank of India does is typically one fine morning you'll find one RBI representative gets into the board as a director. But that's not the answer. That's a sort of band-aid approach to address the issue. But you need to address the issue at the root.
Two RBI reports highlight the resilience of the banking sector and its performance. Will the banks be able to perform as well as they did last year? And does that hold true for NBFCs and other banking entities as well? What could, according to you, are the weak links in the sector?
Well, if you are referring to the two Reserve Bank of India reports, and they have been like giving good certificates to the banking system. They are well capitalized. Even in the worst scenario, they would not fall short of capital. And B, the pile of bad assets have gone down. It's a decadal low. Yes, there are two important things the bank need to watch out for. One is the deposit growth. Not every bank will be able to handle the credit growth because their deposit is not growing. Theoretically, of course, they can liquidate their excess government bond holding and generate liquidity to support credit growth. Also, they can raise money from the market in the form of capital. But everybody cannot go to the market and raise capital. And everybody does not have excess SLR holdings, right? So the deposit raising is a big challenge for the banking sector at this point of time. And second is, again, we are seeing the hard mentality. Typically, one bank goes and gets into lends to some entity, and the other banks also chase and do the same thing. Has that trend started? Probably yes, even though in a little mild manner. So, like for instance, everybody chasing retail assets, but does everybody have the expertise?
Thanks, Tamal. Thanks for coming on the show again. We hope to see you next week again. Thank you.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
I am the blue of the limitless sky. I am the inspiration that led success soar high. I will achieve, I will fly high. I am the I in SBI.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.